Hey guys, this is Mitchell. So Ni no Kuni comes out today in North America, and I've actually had it for the last week or so, and managed to pour in about 20 hours so far. Now most people estimate it to be a 40-hour game, so one could say that I'm only about halfway done. Still, I wanted to give you guys some of my impressions of the game so far. So here is my Ni no Kuni review in progress. First off, before we even get into this, I need to ask you a few questions to ascertain whether Ni no Kuni is even for you. First, do you like JRPGs? Next, are you willing to put up with a very slow beginning? And finally, do you mind lots and lots of level grinding? If you answered no to any of those questions, I'll say it right now, you might want to steer clear of Ni no Kuni. For the rest of you, get ready for a majestic ride through one of the most beautiful video game worlds I've ever played. Ni no Kuni, or The Second Country / Another World for those curious as to what the title literally translates to, was originally a DS game that was released in 2010 in Japan, then in 2011 was remade for the PS3. Here we are now in 2013, and it's finally our turn to get our hands on this dream collaboration between famed RPG gurus Level 5 and the Pixar of Japan, Studio Ghibli. I'm about to go over some spoilerific story bits that cover the first 20 minutes of the game, so for those who have sensitive ears, skip to the time marked on the screen. Alright, everyone here that wants to be here? Okay. The game tells the story of a young boy named Oliver who tragically loses his mother after she saves him from drowning in a river. In his grieving, Oliver's tears break the spell placed on one of his dolls, Mr. Drippy, causing him to come to life.
What's all this? Curse lifted, is it? Tiny! I'm free! Free!
Drippy tells Oliver that there might be a way to save his mother by rescuing her doppelganger in the world that he comes from. And so, in the hopes of bringing back his mother, Oliver sets out on a grand adventure in an unfamiliar world. While the story initially gets off to a great start featuring some very emotional and tragic scenes with Oliver and his mother, once they enter the titular Ni no Kuni, things kind of drown in typical RPG / adventure cliches. Oliver winds up being the chosen pure-hearted one that stories tell of, who will save the world. They go from town to town searching for great sages to teach them how to be strong enough to take down the big bad guy, and rid possessed rulers of whatever monster took control of them and made their people miserable. That all sounds very negative, but I think most people will be able to look past the obvious cliches and tropes because the world of Ni no Kuni is just so damn beautiful.
So this is your world.
That's right. A whole nother world. Beautiful, innit?
Studio Ghibli has always made some of my favorite character designs, and this game is no exception. The game's characters are very vibrant and expressive, the monster design is some of the best I've seen in a long time in RPGs, and they're made even better by the clever localization that really loves puns. And the vistas are just gorgeous. What some players might not be able to overlook though is just how slow the first 4 or 5 hours of the game are. Battles early on require nothing more than just mashing the X button until everything is dead, with the exception of one Guardian battle, and once you reach the first town, it's just fetch quest after fetch quest after fetch quest for what feels like an eternity. First you need an outfit, but the outfit's not ready yet, so you need to go to another shop for a merit card. Then you need to go sleep at the inn. Now you can pick up your clothes so you can see the king, but the king won't see you because his fucking fish is missing. So you find the fish, but it swims across the fucking town, so you hunt it down again, pick it up, take it to the castle, but the king is in a pissy mood, so you need to find a way to make him not so pissy. Then you go back and he tells you that you can now shop in the weapon shop, so you go to the weapon shop and find nothing of interest because you barely have any money. So you go to the king, but he's missing. Where'd he go? I don't know. Then we go to the other world and we learn that, surprise, surprise, the cat gets into fights with mice. Go back to the other world and finally, we arrive at the dungeon. I mean, I get it. The game has a lot to teach you. But surely there has got to be some better way of doing it than making the player spend an hour and a half being bounced around like a pinball all over 2 different towns. I'll say this though, once you get past that initial hurdle, Ni no Kuni has some of the most challenging and rewarding combat in any RPG I've ever played. This isn't the kind of game where you can reach a new town, hit the shop, and outfit each of your party members with the best weapons, armor, and accessories. Combat is hard, items are expensive, and money is not in abundant supply. You're going to have to make some tough decisions as to whether you want to spend a premium on a new weapon or piece of armor, buy food for your familiars to increase their stats, or buy provisions for yourself and allies to stay alive. Lots of reviewers like to compare Ni no Kuni's battle system to a cross between the Tales games and Pokemon, and they're not wrong. Like in the Tales games, players can freely move Oliver and his party members around the field to avoid attacks, and strategically position themselves to do as much damage as possible. Like Pokemon, the player is also in control of monsters known as familiars, that each have their own stats, special moves, strengths, and weaknesses. These familiars can also evolve into more powerful forms once they reach a certain level, but the catch is that once they evolve, they go back to level 1 and must be leveled all over again. This leads to some interesting decisions for the players as they're nearing a boss fight. Do I evolve my most powerful familiar and then farm him up? Or do I see if I can just get through this battle and evolve him afterwards? The problem is that while an evolved familiar eventually becomes much stronger than the non-evolved version, it can take a very long time to build him back up again. And did I mention that you eventually have to manage 9 of these familiars? Your full party consists of 3 characters, and each character can hold 3 familiars. If you count the 3 main characters themselves, that's 12 different characters that you'll be switching between in battles. Needless to say, things can get pretty hectic really quickly. Don't count on just focusing on 1 or 2 familiars either. Not only are you eventually going to run into an enemy that isn't weak to your familiar's elements, but each familiar can only be in play for a limited amount of time before it needs to be switched out. As I said, this is a review in progress and I'm only about halfway through the game so far. Right now my impressions of Ni no Kuni are mostly positive, though I am hoping that the story becomes a little more interesting. The writing and the localization are fantastic, but the characters are kind of boring and the plot feels like standard fantasy JRPG fare. That of course has the potential to change though, and overall I'm loving how deep and involved the game Ni no Kuni is. Look forward to hearing from me again after I actually finish the game for my final thoughts and score.
Let us see how this story unfolds. I am sure the ending will be engaging.